Welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, the show with a no BS approach to money, hosted by a farm strategy expert and authorized IBC practitioner. Join us as we get real and expose the flaws of traditional financial institutions in order to help farmers take control of their finances, create peace of mind, grow their wealth, and leave a legacy. Now, here's your host, Mary Jo Irmen.
Hello, and welcome to today's podcast. Thank you again for listening. I do appreciate the fact that you have downloaded this and you listen. If these are podcasts that you guys are enjoying, I do ask if you would rate this, because apparently that is what happens, and then iTunes bumps me up. Now, I don't know a whole lot about that technology stuff, but that's what I'm being told. Anyway, let's talk about why haven't you heard about this? This is probably the number one question that I get outside of it's too good to be true. But in reality, the two of them really do join themselves together. And it's the same question that I had. I mean, let's be honest, you guys. I came across this stuff, and I don't tell people a lot about how I encountered it and what I thought, unless people ask, I guess, because I've been in it long enough that I know it's true. I know that it works. But let's just roll back 10 years of when I heard about this. I was pretty certain the people that told me were going to jail. I was, in fact, very certain that they were going to end up in orange and stripes. Because if this was legitimately true, why hadn't I heard about it? I hated the stock market. There was no Google, really, 10 years ago. Everything was still Yahoo. And I am talking for years, even before the stock market crashed, I was looking for things on Yahoo. I wasn't Googling, I was Yahooing. I was looking for things of where to put my money outside of the stock market. I was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad books. I read most of Robert Kiyosaki's books. I was looking at investing in commercial property. I was talking to an old boss that I had that had commercial property. I was looking at residential property and real estate. Those were all things that were on my radar, and this whole market thing did not make sense to me. And so I was the skeptic as well. I just decided to educate myself and do my due diligence before I said no. But we get that question a lot. Why haven't I heard about this? And in my research, all I'm going to share with you today is the research that I found and what I've pieced together to make sense of why we're not hearing about this. Because there's no other reason except somebody's fingers in the pot or human nature. And we have to look back at what were we doing before and how were things being done before. And there is a great book called The Great Wall Street Scam written by Rick Buter. I see that you can get it on Amazon because I just had to order another one. I can't find mine. I must have lent it to somebody and not got it back. But one of the best little books ever. It's just small like mine. It's a very quick read. But he talks about in there how IRAs were started in 1974. 401ks were started in 1978. And so if we look back at the stock market, we really see this huge jump in rates of return in 1974 to 1978, even 1980. Why? Because before that time, employers put money into an annuity product for retirement for their employees. In 74 and 78, the government created these programs that said, hey, you employers can no longer put money into a retirement account. Employees will have to take care of that on their own. And so you saw pensions being moved out of annuity products. I mean, and most people had a pension, a true pension. They weren't investing in the market because it's not what they knew. Only the wealthy were investing in the market. So what happened is we had all these people jumping into the market buying stocks, and it raised the price of stocks, and we got this huge rate of return. So we were seeing rates of return in the teens. Well, what happened with life insurance? Why would we want a 4% rate of return? Why wouldn't we go to the market and get a 15% rate of return? I have a family member who told me he canceled his whole life policy in the 80s. He cashed it out and put that money in the stock market. That, my friends, is what happened. In my opinion, that is what happened, and that is why we don't know about this. And the reason I'm pretty confident in saying that is because if I talk to somebody in their 80s, they will tell me how awesome their whole life insurance policy is. Because a lot of people in their 80s still have whole life if they didn't buy into this market rate of return. So now you have people that may be retired in the 80s, like my grandparents, retired in the 80s, they had money to put in the stock market, and they died before the market crashed, and the rates of returns went back down to single digits like they are today. We're not going to see those rates of return again. So what happened when people were pulling money out of their whole life policies? They were canceling whole life policies because they were chasing a rate of return, because that is what we were led to believe. Well, what did they do? The life insurance companies created the universal life policy, and then a variable life, and now it's an indexed universal life, and it's an adjustable premium paying. All the crappy policies that I don't like, that's what they created because they're all based on a market rate of return. Well, you're still playing the stock market. You're still in the market. So the life insurance companies tried to compete with the market because they were losing business. Instead of educating their life insurance agents so that the agents could educate you, the life insurance companies just decided to jump in the pool and start playing. So whose fault is it? It's everybody's fault. It's the life insurance company's fault, and it's the people who bought into this conception that we should put our money in the market even though we don't know anything about it. The government, now I'm going to sound like a government conspiracy theorist and a government hater, but the government created it. It's an IRS tax code. This was all created so that you could avoid taxes today and pay taxes tomorrow. Chase after that rate of return. So why haven't we heard about it? We are nearly 2 generations removed of what used to be done. I mean, think about it. I am 45 today as I'm recording this. I don't care how old. I don't care if you guys know how old I am. I'm 45. My grandparents, one set of my grandparents, have been gone for a long time already. So they're the ones that retired that hit that 80s. So now we have my parents who would have grown up and really started their jobs or their careers. Let's just say that my mom and dad weren't farmers. They would have started their careers really in the 80s. And they would have went to town and got a job and everything would have been great and you put money in your 401k. And then they passed that down to me. So I'm now the second full generation of this market scam, I will call it, to tell you that this is where you should be putting your money instead of whole life. Because the people that knew that whole life was a place to put their money, they are either 80, 90, or dead. We can't ask them anymore. The only thing we can go back and do is research what was done, when it stopped, and why don't we hear about this anymore? And we're not hearing about it because we're being taught in schools. We're hearing about it from every neighbor that has a job that you put money into your 401k. We're not hearing about it because life insurance companies are doing an absolutely horrible job of teaching their life insurance agents what product is good and what product is not. And stop teaching the life insurance agents how to chase a rate of return. Stop teaching people that chasing a rate of return is going to be the answer. Because all you're doing by chasing a rate of return is going to the Russian roulette table and hoping that it spins and lands on the number you want. Right? I mean, you're just gambling with it. Before 1974, there was no gamble. There was no gamble. It was all a guaranteed pension. And it was expensive. Because guess what? They knew you were going to die. It was all based on actuarial numbers. You, as the retirement holder, did not have the risk. Instead, you pass that risk on to the insurance company. Today, that risk is being passed on to you. The employer doesn't have the risk. The stock market doesn't have the risk. The financial advisor doesn't carry that risk. You carry that risk. Before, that risk was all figured into everything, and they knew that they were going to have money to pay you every month until the day that you passed or the day that your spouse passed, because everything was put in there accordingly and funded correctly. That is the only logical explanation that I can come up with as of to why you haven't heard about this. Because there's not enough Mary Joes out there in the world to teach people. But the more of us that there are, the more certified practitioners for infinite banking that there are, the better. Because now when I talk to somebody that's already talked to somebody else, it's not quite so unbelievable. Or if I talk to somebody that says, hey, you know what? My mom and dad did that. Or my grandpa and grandma did that. It's not so unbelievable. It's just that there are very, very few of us around because we've been led to believe that we need to chase a rate of return. We've been led to believe that we need to give up liquidity of our money. We need to give our money up till we're 59 and a half in order to create wealth. We've been led to believe these things because it's the only thing that we hear. Those who scream the loudest are the ones that are heard. It doesn't matter what it is. The people that scream the loudest are the ones that are heard. We need to sit back, do our due diligence, and go, this is why I haven't heard about it. Don't take my word for it, for heaven's sakes. Go buy the books. Read them yourself. Educate yourself on what's happening, and you will understand why this isn't too good to be true. I don't take your money. And people think that too. Well, Mary Jo, if I give you money, am I going to get it back? Like, you tell me I have 75% of my money I can borrow against. Am I going to get that back? Or are you going to take it? Are you a Ponzi scheme? Well, I'm not sure how I can be a Ponzi scheme, because if I just sold you regular life insurance, you wouldn't ask me that question. And that truly is what I'm selling you, is regular life insurance. But if somebody came to the door and asked you if you're going to get that money back because they sold you a traditional whole life policy, you wouldn't ask that. But just because we're utilizing the cash value, it seems like it's impossible and that it's just too good to be true. I get it. People, I totally get it. And I had that same question, and then I did my due diligence, and then I went from disbelief to complete anger. And I was angry for years because why hadn't I been told? And I had this question come up the other day from a new client in his 60s. And so he wanted to talk to another client of mine that has been doing it. And I said, okay, that's awesome. I've got several clients that you can call. And I passed on the information of another client that is about 77, 78. And I called my 70-year-old client and I said, you know, can this guy call you? He just really wants to know why he hasn't heard of this before. And he's like, sure, but I had never heard of it either. Now keep in mind, this client was about 75 when we wrote his policy, and he hadn't heard of it either. So even then, it was not something that people knew about. So it was easy to just say, oh, let's get rid of this whole life thing because people don't really know about it. Let's throw this IRA and 401k in the mix. But Ask people that do have it why they have it. They understand it. They've done their due diligence on it. You need to do your due diligence. You can't just take it at face value and say, oh, well, that's just too good to be true. Or if this was real, I would have heard about it. Really? You think so? Because nobody else knows about it. So after you've read the book, after you've listened to the podcast, keep that in mind. That when you're talking to your neighbors and your friends and your family members that say, this is too good to be true, it's not possible, have they listened to the podcast? Have they read the book? Have they done any due diligence? If they've not done that, you're the expert. They don't know anything. They're in the same position you were before you read the book. Don't just brush it off and say, oh, well, it's not possible. If you think it's not possible, it's not possible. You can't tell me that Nelson had 49 life insurance policies and this didn't work. Because guess who has them now? Some of those 49 life insurance policies have gone back to Nelson's family. Because Nelson passed away and he wasn't the insured. He was the owner. So you can't tell me this doesn't work. There is proof that it works. It's just that people aren't talking about it. There weren't any books on it. 10 years ago when I researched this, I had a choice of about 3 books, maybe 5. There was hardly anything. Today there's YouTube, there's podcasts, there's books, there's websites. It's fantastic what we've done in the last 10 years to get the word out for the infinite banking concept. Absolutely fantastic. There's more agents. It's awesome. But that still doesn't mean that it's something you're going to hear about just walking down the street. You might have to put in a little bit of legwork if you do believe that it is that impossible. Just like I did. I took my life insurance license and I still thought it was illegal. I mean, you want to talk about a skeptic. I was one. Because I had done other investments that were Ponzi schemes. Because guess what? I didn't do my homework. I wasn't going to get caught up in that again. And so I really wanted to make sure that this was true. Okay, you guys, if you haven't got the book, go to farmingwithoutthebank.com. Grab the book now, read it. You'll get an email to schedule a link to my calendar. When you're done reading it, schedule your meeting. It's free. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm going to try to teach you something, but I'm not going to try to sell you anything. That is 100% up to you. But I hope that helped answer the question of why haven't I heard about it, or is it too good to be true? If you have questions, if you have comments, please just let me know. MaryJo@withoutthebank.com. I would be happy to answer those for you. I would be happy to talk about a subject that you want talked about, or a guest maybe that you would want on. We are, in the next coming episodes, going to have some guests that are clients. So that's going to be fun to hear from clients and to see how they're using it and what they thought when they first read the book. Were they ready to jump in with 2 feet, or did they ask 15 people what they thought about it? And I was the only one with a good idea. And I'm the one selling it. That's always hard. But you got to do your due diligence. Anyway, thank you very much. Please leave a rating. I really, really would appreciate that. I appreciate you for listening, and you have a fantastic day.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page, Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.